Hi everyone, so today's video is called Revolve. It's all about turning the page and seeing things from a different perspective. I think it's something that we've all had to do over the last couple of weeks in our new lifestyles as we adjust. We're trying to recreate something like this. You're going to need a pen, pencil and something circular to work with, and of course a plain piece of paper. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi everyone, so today we are making a version of this. Again, it's going to be completely different every single time, but it's one obviously I created a few days ago to do the tutorial. I have prepared a download for you, so if you want to copy along, there is one available in the notes, so you can download that. So you're going to need today a piece of paper, blank piece of paper. You're going to need a pen or pencil, it's your choice of what you wanted to complete it in, and something circular. So I'm going with a saucer, and that's what we're going to do our lines with to create this. Now I am going to also use a kind of Sharpie, so it doesn't matter if you don't have a Sharpie, you can use a felt tip or you can use your pen. I'm just going to make the line stand out a bit more by using the Sharpie because it's slightly thicker. So we're going to start. Notice I've got mine in landscape today. That's probably not how it's going to stay because we're going to do a lot of revolving, a lot of rotating, a lot of moving the paper around, just to give ourselves different perspectives, which is quite nice. So finding your centre, just draw around your circular object. Okay, that's your first step. And again, what we could do is there's plenty of tools out there to make this absolutely perfect, but I like the element of not knowing what you're going to create. So we have a plan, but everyone's going to be slightly different, and I think that's quite a nice thing. You can own your own. So we're going to make an arc. You've got to imagine that this is split into 4. So imagine we've got 4 lines along here. If it's easier for you to see, then you can just do a pencil line across like that. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to place your saucer or your circular object along so it touches that line and it touches that line. Okay. Now if you want to do it slightly different, you can make it slightly bigger, or if you want it to be quite perfect, you can just make sure that it's touching those lines. And then we're just going to make an arc from the circumference. Okay, that's your first one done. And we're going to rotate around and do that to create 4 of them. So again, like I said, they might not be perfect. Make sure that they don't overlap. If they do, it's okay. There's number 2. And then number 3. And then join it back with number 4. So we've got 4 of these on the outside, okay, touching the circumference of our circle. Next, what we're going to do is start to fill out the inside. So we're going to do the same thing again. You don't need a pencil for this part. What we're going to do is join from there to there with our saucer, just to create some more inside lines. So we've got 1. Then we've got our second one. And you can judge where you want them to go, how big you want them to be. We're just sticking with the number 4 at the moment. You see that one's slightly out, but don't worry about it, we can fix that. What I will say is, like I said, when you're trying to fix something, I'm just going over it again. And I'm actually going to do that with all of them, just to keep that consistency. So now I'm going to have a thicker line. So, there we go. Problem solved. And then the same with the last one. And then create your overlap. Now if yours didn't overlap, then of course you don't need to do that, but I've just done it because mine didn't. And just to remind myself that I didn't actually want that part in, but it's a way of fixing it. I'm just going to colour in those lines to make them slightly thicker. And like I said, when we're doing this, there is no wrong way. It is a case of just going along and seeing what happens, fixing it, building that resilience, problem solving, shall we say. And even that's not a problem. That's something that we can fix later on. So once we've got that done, we've got our inside sorted. Now, what I'm going to do with the inside is I'm just going to turn it into half. Okay, so I'm not going to go directly from one side to the other, but I am going to make it slightly towards the left, so it's just less than half, and make that arc there. Okay, now it just means I'm going to split this up into sections. So it's made 2, and then 1 more to make 3. We've got 3 going in there. And just as a contrast, I'm going to do some going this way. But you'll see I've rotated the piece of paper around, and I'm going to follow this line with my saucer. So you can see that fits there. I'm going to go just a bit above, maybe 1 centimetre above, still going from this corner and making an area for me to work in, and then splitting this big area into 2. Okay, so the next stage is going to be to create this bit here, so making it go in. So what we're going to do is get the saucer, and what I say is just choose a side. It's up to you which one you're going to go with. I'm going to choose this one as my point of origin, and what I mean by that is basically all these arcs I'm going to make on this particular section of the circle is going to go towards that point. And you can have more. I'm just going to go with that length and try and make them as much the same as possible. You do not need to measure it. Now, you'll see at that point there, I'm just going to draw those out to hide any overlaps. And on the next one, I'm just going to do it to the opposite one. So all my points are going to be opposite to where they extend. So you'll see that they're wide there and they're smaller there. So 1, 2, 3, and this one's got another one, so there's no problem in that. Some have more than others, that's perfectly fine. Revolving again. And then the last one. And I think doing it this way just makes the picture just look a bit more dynamic. So what I mean by that is, for me, it just feels like there's a lot more movement happening. And if you want to, you can add whatever features you like onto this. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do, now you've got a choice. You don't have to fill in this bit here. You can have it plain like this, or you can follow the same method that I've done in this one and just create some more lines going in the opposite direction. So that's what I'm going to do on here. I'm going to choose this point as my origin and create some smaller ones. 1, 2. Notice I just looked to see how many I could fit in, just by eye. Same for this one. Probably just 2 lines in that one. 1, 2. I'm going to leave that as 2. I'm just going to go over this one because the pen's faded a bit. And then my last one. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to add any other lines, just leaving it as 2. So there you've got the base done. Okay, so from this point onwards, it will just be a case of creating the patterns to fill the shape. So now we're ready to start the patterning. So I'm going to start from the inside outwards, and obviously start with one of my favourites, which is to create my little circles. So making them not so small this time. We got a diameter of about 5 millimeters maybe, but making sure that they overlap and not being too fussed, making sure any white space disappears, and just continuing that throughout the whole box. Okay, so first bit is done. Now, choices, you can choose to do every one is different. I am going to do it in this stage. So in the middle, I'm going to make sure that they're all very different in their patterns. So the next one I'm choosing is going to be a swirl. So maybe not a swirl, more of a elongated rope. Okay, and inside it I'm just going to put some dots. And that's all on the same side. So you can say on this side of the rope it's got dots, and on the other side of the rope I'm just going to add a circle and put a dot inside of it. Okay, so you've got a couple of things going on in that one, and I think what I might add is very thin line just going up. Right. And the third one, I'm going to go with, so we've gone circles, we've gone loops, I'm going to go with a triangle. I'm going to do this slightly differently. Right, so triangle, zigzag, whichever way you want to look at it. So it's going to look like this one has been broken up a bit more, but that's okay. And inside it, I'm just going to fill with smaller coloured in triangles, but not touching the edges. Okay, and then for this one I'm going to go with dots actually, so opposite to our circles there, we're just going to go with quite thick dots, spots should we say, all over here, and just being quite, decide where you want to spread them out and how you want them to be. Okay, next one I'm going to go with, we've gone triangles, let's go with something quite what's the word, straight. I'm going to go with straight lines, very thinly set, so very narrow gap between each one. And all the way to the end. Okay, and our last one, I am going to go with more of a larger circle, but with something in it. And notice I'm just imagining where the rest of that circle would be. On this bit, I'm going to fill it with triangular bit. Notice it's imagining how this pattern would continue. And inside, I'm going to put another circle quite close to that circumference, and another one quite close to that one, with a dot in the middle. Depends, of course, how thin your pen is. That one I won't be able to fit any more in. And that one there. So that's the middle bit done. Now for the next bit, Remember that mistake that I made there as I was colouring it in? I'm just going to cover that up now, and I'm just going to extend it. So what it's going to look like is a smaller version of what I've just created inside of here. So all these lines originate from the same point, and they're just going to merge over, so they're still arcing all the way to the end. Now I'm just going to add one in there. Now what I've gone for is the idea that, of course, we're rotating, things change, we have cycles, some things are different, some things remain the same. So I'm actually going to repeat this pattern on this one here. So you remember I started with 4 big outer ones, then we had 4 inner ones, and then we had the inside. So here, there, there and there, I'm going to repeat this pattern. So starting in the centre, just creating that curved line from the origin. And there's that perseverance, continuing that curve as best you can. Okay. I'm going to add another one on this side, just here. And again, that will depend on how thin your pen is. Next one. Just all the way across. And you can arc it as much as you like. Just keep going. Okay. And then fill that one in there. And the last one. All the way across. Okay. This one's slightly, there's a lot more straight ones in this one, but it doesn't matter. So that's now that all 4 are exactly the same. My next pattern I'm going to choose for that is going back to my triangles. I'm going to go with a zigzag. Quite a thinner zigzag than what I used before. That. And inside these zigzags I'm going to do, again keeping with this line theme, I'm going to do those just on this inside, just 3 lines inside. Now notice I'm doing that to meet on the outer one so it doesn't meet that one. So we've got a bit of a gap and we can see this pattern appear. So rotate it round, same thing again, quite a thin zigzag, and then on the inside putting these lines in. And keep rotating the pattern. I find it easier to just rotate the pattern. Then you get to look at it from all different angles. Now this one obviously would have continued up here, so I'm just going to put in a line there as if it was carrying it on. pattern. Okay, and that's those, all 4 of those are done. And for the last one in this section, I'm going to go with a it's an M-ish shape. So you'll see that this one is finished. There are no more of these second layers, shall I call them, to complete here. It just goes on to that outer layer. Here I've got 2 more, here I've got 1 more, and here I've got 1 more. So I'm not actually going to do anything else in that section there, because otherwise that'll go with my next pattern. So here I'm going to add some M's, so it's quite small M shapes or ends. Right on there. So it's going to look a bit like scales on a fish. All the way up to make that line. Okay, same for this one. So this is probably the tricky bit, remembering what lines you are working with and in what section of the pattern. Keep it going. All the way to touch that line. Okay, now that one's finished. There's no more of that inner section, and then there's this one. All the way across. Now yours will be slightly different, so it's just remembering. If it helps, you could have put a pencil line in to remind you that this is the outer one, layer 2 and middle. And then continue. Nearly there. Right, and that's done. So from this middle section, I've just got this last bit here to complete. So for that pattern, what I think I'm going to do is put something like this in, but it's just going to be a bit more, it's going to be like thin, thin, thicker one. Thin, thin, thicker. All the way across. If you don't feel like it's thick enough, do go back over it and make them stand out a bit more if you want to. Okay, and that's just filled in that last one there. So now we're into the outer section. Now we're going to flip it a bit. For this outer section, we're actually going to work from the outside in. And that just helps us keep a record of the layers that we're using, and otherwise we'd lose count and we would forget what we're working with. Well, that's what I found anyway. So for the outside, to kind of close it off, we're going to go with a smaller version of these. They're much shorter but much wider. Just on that first one, which touched the main circumference. Okay. Inside that, very similar to the one that I created. Go with a dot and 2 other arcs on top of it. And I'm just going to finish it off with the reverse of this. So another set of these, but much smaller. Okay, so let's repeat that. I'm going to go with repeating. You could have a completely different pattern in each one of yours, entirely up to you. Now that you've created it, it's up to you to fill it. If you want some ideas, I do have 100 and more pattern ideas for you to fill in. Now this is quite nice if you're going to colour it in. You got some nice spaces that you can colour with. And remember, the mindfulness is that repeating pattern, just concentrating on that one repetition all the way along. Squeeze one in there. That's it. So the outside layer is completed. For the next one in, I'm going to go with an S shape. It's going to be quite a tight S shape, and I'm going to leave gaps between each one. So I'm going to start here and do one S. Quite a squished up letter S. All the way down to the bottom, and inside that S I'm just going to add a circle to the inner part of the S shape. Okay, rotate, same again. So I'm going to start from this bit here, and that just helps me smooth that out a bit more and cover up any blemishes I don't want. All the way down. Now you notice what I've actually done is I've done it in the wrong section. So I'm going to use that, and I've just done some calculations that actually this one won't appear in that fourth one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So actually I'm going to ignore this for now. I can do something later with it. Remember, we can solve the problems. It's not, don't get too hung up on it. We're going to do yours there. Right, so this one is more of an elongated one, and just making it slightly different to that one that is started in the wrong section. Okay, keep going. Alright, and then let's put our circles in. Squeeze one in there, makes it look like it's really small. So not that one, starting in this one. So this top Hold on. Squishing it in. Okay, and then our circles. All the way down. Next one, remember doing it there. This is the last one. Now, if there's one lesson you can learn, it's if you make a mistake, it's okay. You're only human. And that is our quality. So embrace it rather than resisting it. Trust me, I've seen people that would have made a mistake like that and then the piece of paper would have been in the bin. So what we're going to do is actually use it to our advantage. So you'll see that those were bigger ones. I must have known in terms of the sizing of it, but I'm going to repeat that there. So we've got 2 left here, 2 left there, 2 left there. This one has 3 left, so I'm just going to make sure that these 2 are exactly the same. And then I'll think of what to do with that to make it slightly different to that one there. First step though is going to be to make it slightly bigger than what we have in that one. And let the ideas flow. Okay, so going back to our main pattern, so working from the outside in, I'm going to go with an oval shape. So an oval, and inside that oval I'm going to just keep my pen on the paper and just make smaller copies of it. Okay, once I've done that, I'm just going to put a dot in the direction of where the peak is of those ovals. So one base one, and then keeping the pen on the piece of paper, you can go and make smaller ones. If you want to do that one at a time, that's fine. And we can have them going in as different directions, as long as the smallest part is on this as your baseline, so that they all look the same. So this is just what it would look like if you were doing them one at a time. If you've got a nice pen, it's good to just let the pen follow the pen. Do that one at a time. Obviously, the closer you get to the smaller bit, the less circles. Well, they started as ovals and they've turned into circles that you can fit in. Okay, next. So I'm going to start overlay, and then it will just evolve into what it wants to become. But continuing with that same pattern. all the way across. And sometimes you can be in the flow, and sometimes you just need to separate. I find if I start here, it follows the pen a lot easier. And I just for that one I even did it from the beginning. So like that. And just experimenting with different ways that the pen moves. If there's any resistance with the pen, just making a note of it. You might need to go and get a different one. There have been times I've started something with one pen, thought, no, not feeling this one, and gone to get a different one. And if you find it easier, I'm just going to show you an alternative. I'm just going to create all the loops first, and then go and do the dots for each one afterwards. If it's easier for you to stay in the moment and focus on creating the loops first, that's okay too. Don't forget all the way across. Okay, and then go back. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put the dots in. Okay, and the last one, I'm going to do that method, so I'm just going to do all my lines first and then go back and do the dots. And again, it can depend on the way that your paper is facing. Now, I find it easier if it's lower down. And if you've got a thinner pen, you might be able to fit in more of these. And just experiment with different ways of creating the pattern. Right, and then go back and put your dots in. And especially when you're doing something like dotting, it's a good way of holding one of those mantras or just keeping yourself focused. I like to count when I'm doing it because it helps remember, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, for this next pattern, we haven't put any like flowery shapes in there yet, so we're going to do that now. So we're going to use the corner of the fourth section working in and do a leaf. Now from that leaf, we're going to add in a circle, and we're going to do one going the opposite direction. So it's a bit weird to start with. Again, you can neaten it out if you want to. So it's going to be, the next one is going to be going in the opposite direction of this one. followed by a circle, and then a leaf go the opposite direction. So opposite, circle, opposite, opposite, circle, opposite, circle. Okay, and in this one we're going to add a kind of, we'll add a little bit of a pattern inside of it. It's seemed quite, maybe a pumpkin doing that. And then inside more of a, make it quite dark, black it out. And then at the top. Now this is probably the most complicated that we've been so far, and that's okay, there's time for everything. I think setting it up is probably the biggest part, but once you see what it looks like, you'll know what we're aiming for. Okay, so that's what it will look like along there. So starting that again, I find it, like I said, easier to start with my first leaf. So it's going to be a leaf. You have the paper horizontal to you, parallel to you in terms of the pattern. It will help you make sense of it. Circle, leaf, opposite leaf, circle, opposite. Okay, curly whirlies. And making one side bigger than the other. Right. Dots. And inside it, colouring it. All the way through. Okay, 2 more to go. I find concentrating on doing the main part first helps you see the pattern a bit better. It helps you focus. And then you can then go back and do the next part. It also helps develop that consistency. And then the last bit to make the pattern complete. Nearly there. Okay. Now this one you'll see that it's a bit away from the edge, so I'm just going to add a bit of a curl in. Probably I'll do that on this one as well. Not all of them do lean themselves to it, but definitely I saw it on that one. Yours might not need the dots. And then inner part. Okay, now remember these two? They were the mistakes that I made, and we're just going to turn them into something else. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add quite a large circle inside, but a spiral just sitting at the bottom of the shape here. Right. And then to finish it off, let's go with the triangle. Okay, let's split that in half. And again, remember, I think actually I'm just going to all in and add the 2 dots either side. Now you might have been happy with how it was and left it. It's perfectly fine. Okay. And just ask yourself the question, do you think it needs anything else? It's up to you if you do want to. I think I'm going to leave it like that. And your swirls might start the opposite direction. Which again is fine. Can I fit a triangle on that one? No. Okay. And there we have finished. Now again, a bit of a comparison. I have tried to keep it very, very similar, but by the same token things change. So that is your finished one. Don't forget to make sure you date it. So today's date is the 25th of the 4th, 20, and I'm calling this one Revolve. Okay, so thank you for watching. If you haven't already done so, then please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing one of these every single week, and you can see some of the other videos by pressing the buttons that appear on the screen right now.